Okay, back on Ford Mustang stuff. This is the half of the front end. I assume it's the looks like passenger side. Anyway, I'm not sure, but doesn't matter at this point. This is a half the front suspension off of a '65 Mustang. And I got earplugs in right now, so if I'm talking too quiet or too loud, I do apologize, but I'm going to have to do some beating, so I'm going to forewarn you, if I pick up a hammer, it's probably going to get loud. What I'm needing is, I just needed these spindles, and I'll show you once it's apart, but basically that's your steering knuckle, or whatever you say, and then this is your actual spindle. It goes all the way through and holds the drum and everything together with the bearings. So once we get it apart, and then we get other videos involved to starting to build the front end, I'll show you what I'm after. But that's actually all I was after. But this guy was doing a complete rebuild on his Mustang, doing a that coil spring. Well, what do they call that? The way that Ford has it set up, the springs are up in pockets, and it doesn't matter. They were doing away with it, doing with rack and pinion, and getting away the shock towers, I guess I'm trying to say, and stuff. But we're going to keep all that because there's no reason to change it. It works. This isn't going to be a daily driver, so it's still going to have disc brakes and stuff like that, and it's going to have new parts, but in the same token, I'm not getting carried away with it. So with that said, this is factory Ford stuff. I'm not reusing it. However, what I have found is the aftermarket stuff doesn't always work and fit. Oh, I'm doing terrible camera work. And it's probably a good idea to not throw this stuff away if you end up with it, or if you're doing some changing. There's a couple things going. Number one is, if something is absolutely not correct, you can always put new bushings or new ball joints in and reuse this stuff. Clean it up, paint it, even have powder coated before you put all that stuff in if you really wanted to. But the thing, what I'm trying to say is, if it's wasn't damaged in an accident or something, this stuff is always going to be worth more than the aftermarket. Now this actually does have a sway bar in it. I don't know if the 6-cylinder one does or not. I'll have to crawl underneath here and look. But I'm going to utilize a sway bar. Yeah, I got you as close as I dare. What can you do? What I got is you got two Carter pins, Carter keys, whatever you guys want to call them. Everybody, depends on where you're from, call them different things. Some of them call them, other stuff. I don't know what. But anyway, got to get them out first. There's various ways of doing it. Now, mind you, the only thing I'm trying to save, no, at first, I'm not going to try to cut anything or destroy anything, but I just need the spindle. So anything that kind of gets boogered up here, at this point, doesn't matter. If you're just doing a quick rebuild and it doesn't come with new nuts and stuff like that, you're just putting new ball joints in, it didn't come with nuts, you got to be a little more careful with some of this stuff. Obviously, you don't want to take the castle nut half off and start beating the crap out of it and start bending it up where it doesn't go on all the way. But sometimes they're in a position where they're easy to get to, and other times they're not. This one is in the not category because it's actually going straight down. You can't see it, but it's going straight down, and it's longer than what the this allows to move, if that makes any sense. So they actually had to put it down, bend it, put it down, bend it just to get it in there originally, or whoever. It may have been rebuilt once upon a time. Judging by this rubber, it's hard to say. There's various tools you can use to get these out, but sometimes I've just seen it being clipped, and then people will just beat them out or pull one out at a time. Now it's going to come out pretty easy. Hopefully this one will. I made that look a lot worse than it started. No, ain't up high enough yet. No, it's not moving at all. Nope. And I mean not moving at all. The other side didn't fight me near like this. So I'm just going to clip it off. Oh no, it broke on the other end too. Now that's not what you need. And it clipped on that end. This just went from bad to worse. That's how it's supposed to come off. Well, the bad thing is it's sticking up on both ends, so there's no way to do it. So now what you have to do is either try to make it worse and do what I'm doing, digging it out, or just go get a small punch, which is what I'm going to have to do. So, I'll bring you back in a minute. Well, I got various sizes of punches, none of which are going to probably do what I want it to do. It appears this bottom one isn't lined up well either. Nope. Yeah, it's just bending over as I anticipated. I've never tried to drill one of these out. I'm sure it's possible. But I think it better be a sacrificial bit, because I have a funny feeling it's not going to do anything you want it to. Doggone it. I don't even think I'm tapping on it. Now the sun's come out. Well, something else, it looks like this, looks like the whole thing is kind of bent, or that like the nut may have turned at one time in its previous life. I'm sure there's other ways to get these out of there. And I'm telling you what, there ain't no movement at all. Well, I think I just made that worse. Now, if anybody ever wondered, I hate doing front end work. Now, the there's one that moves some. Let's see if we can get just this one to move. Well, it's still not cooperating. It's still busting every time I put any weight on it. Okay, there's one side. I'd rather not twist it, because you twist it, you bust it off, you're even worse shape than you started. Oh boy, that I didn't expect. Ain't no way to get to the back side of it either. Everybody asks me why I don't do this for a living. Well, before I start throwing a 2-year-old fit, let me bring you back when I get the tool unstuck. I got it. Bigger pair of vice grips, and I did end up having to twist it. There was no way around it. Alright, there's still one side in there and it should just come right out, but I know it won't. Well, I see. No, it must have fell out at some point when I was being aggravated and beating on it. Okay. So, I'm going to have to kind of half step in front to get this loose, because it's just going to go floppy. I'm just loosening the nuts now, the castle nuts, bottom ball joint. Now we're going to do the top. This is actually, for the reason I'm doing this video, is to show not only kind of how, even though I'm doing it mostly fighting wrong, sometimes if you go to a salvage yard like a Mustang graveyard, or you end up buying a whole assembly like this, it's actually kind of a cool idea to kind of know how everything goes together, especially if you buy a basket case Mustang that somebody's taken apart at one point. There's no front end under it or whatever. If they got it in a million pieces, you can kind of see how this goes. And then I'm going to put a front end under, but there's a zillion, I'm sure, there's a bunch of videos on how to put these things together, or replacing ball joints or springs or whatever it is. In this case, I'm going from a 6-cylinder to a V8. There is an aftermarket set of disc brakes for the small spindle 4-lug wheel. Keeps it 4-lug, and so that way if you want to keep your car original but need better brakes, which, you know, good idea to have, it's better that it stops than it moves fast. Anyway, I should get a ratchet for this, but don't feel like getting it out. It acts like it's gonna rain here any minute. You don't most of the time if you got spring weight on it, you don't take the nut all the way off. You just loosen it up enough. But in this case, there's no spring on it. So, so there is, obviously it's different if it's actually on the car because you got spring load on it. But as far as taking these loose, it's the same concept whether there's pressure on or not. These are tapered. The ball joints are tapered along with your steering stuff. Most of the time it's tapered. So all you got to do is give it a handful of good wraps and the stuff will come loose on its own. Alright, now I'm going to make some noise. I don't have a very big hammer. Probably getting out of your camera range now. There it went. This has got pressure. This is not cooperating at all. You're probably out of camera range now, maybe not. Got it. Yeah, that's all there is to it. Got that part. Okay, now the bolts on the back side of this will fall out, but not where you can see them as long as the drum is still together. So I'm going to go ahead and take these nuts loose first. Noise. Come on. Yeah, that's what happened last time too. Seriously? That was not going to do it. Come on. All or none. Don't want to lose them nuts and bolts just in case, because I don't know what, like I said, comes with the kit. Not gonna do it. Alright. Get the cap off. I'm going to tell you, the other side did not have a clip in it. Card key, card pin, card, whatever it is. Did not have it. came out a little bit better, and then there should be like a captured goofy looking nut thing on there. The nut should come loose. Use it by hand. Not in this case. I have the magic tool. Uh-oh. This thing's locked up, probably because of brakes. I don't want to bend the end of the spindle up. And with that nut on there, it's not going to come apart very easy. I'll put that nut back on there. I don't want to booger that up. Try to flush it up some. I know you can't see what I'm doing. Just put that nut on there. Nope. Well, unfortunately, this is what happens. When they sit and get full of rust, the brakes go to garbage. Probably would help if I get this nut off there. What's happened is the brake shoes are actually stuck to the drum, and what's giving is the springs are giving up. I can see it right there. That wasn't my guess. Make sure you inhale all that rust you can. If I could get that nut off there, I could pull that off and not worry about it, but that nut's not allowing me to. Put it at a severe angle here. Why would it work? I mean, you know, all I'm doing is boogering the threads up on the spindle and put that nut back on there. This ain't working. Well, as you can see, more fun than humans should be allowed. Yeah, this is just not going to work. With it not being on the car, it's really hard to beat on too. Well, as you can see, I'm about wore out. I'll see you in a bit.